So now we'll add and subtract with those pesky denominators that, aren't the same. So we just need to quickly remind ourselves that LCD is least common denominator, which means it's the least common multiple, pardon me, of the two denominators. And least common multiple is the smallest number that both divide into. So there's an easy trick to find the least common multiple, and that's to take the bigger number and say, okay, does 3 go into 5? No. Check the next multiple of 5. Does 3 go into 10? No. Check the next multiple of 5. Does 3 go into 15? Yes. So least common multiple is 15. On the next pair, 2 is smaller, so does 2 go into 5? No. Next multiple is 10. Does 2 go into 10? Yes, it does. So if the least common multiple of 3 and 5 is 15, then the least common denominator of 2/3 and 1/5, with denominators of 3 and 5, is 15. And you can see I'm just going to change this straight into over 15 over 15. The question is, how did 3 become 15? Well, 3 times 5 is 15. So this is times 5. So I have to do the same thing to the numerator. 2 times 5 is 10. How does 5 become 15? Multiplying by 3. Do the same thing to its numerator. 1 times 3 is 3. 10/15 is 2/3 in disguise. 3/15 is 1/5 in disguise. We just have to put these into a different form so that we can actually add. Now that the denominator is the same, 10 plus 3 is 13, and the denominator is still 15, and we're done. Up next, we know the common denominator is 10. The whole numbers aren't going to change, so it's going to be 3 and something tenths. Let's take care of this plus minus while we're here. Plus negative is actually subtract 3 and some kind of tenths. So 5 in the first number turns into 10 by multiplying by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4/10 and 2/5 are the same thing. In the second fraction, 2 turns into 10 by multiplying by 5. So 1 times 5 is 5. 5/10 and 1/2 are the same thing. So this is 3 and 4/10 minus 3 and 5/10. What you need to look at here and say is, okay, I've got a number here that is 3 and 4/10. That number is positive. I've got a number here that is 3 and 5/10, but that number is negative. That means I have to subtract these numbers. Okay. Whoops. Don't want the highlighter for that. Thing is, 5/10 is bigger than 4/10, so when I subtract, I have to put it on top. 5/10 minus 4/10 is 1/10, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So when I subtract these, I get 1/10. The question is it positive or negative? And look at our numbers. Which is bigger? 3 and 5/10. It was negative, so our answer is negative 1/10. And of course, there'll be some evaluation. Evaluate n minus 11/16 for n being negative 1/3. So this is negative 1/3 minus 11/16. Does 3 go into 16? No. Does 3 go into 32, the next multiple of 16? No. Does 3 go into 48, the third multiple of 16? Well, yeah, because it's 16 times 3. So our common denominator is going to be 48. First number is still going to be negative. This is still going to be minus. 3 turns into 48 by multiplying it by 16. And 1 times 16 is 16. 16 48ths and 1/3 are the same thing. 16 turns into 48 multiplying by 3. So 11 times 3 is 33. 33 48ths and 11/16 are the same thing. Now, we again have two numbers here. We have negative 16 48ths, and beside it we have negative 33 48ths. Those numbers have the same sign. So keep that sign and add the numbers. 16 and 33 is 49 48ths. That's improper. We, of course, can take 1/48 out of 49. And when I take 48 from 49, I'm left with 1 in the numerator. So the answer to this substitution problem is -1 and 1/48.